Okay, so back from the place that I go to get these things. And, well, let's see. What do we got? I mean, these, and probably a few others, these are all plays, right? So you got this publisher, and what's the other? Here's the other major one. This is one of the smaller publishers of plays. Um, I think I'm going to do this off video because that's the boring part. The thing about these is that don't take up a lot of room. Put them in a file cabinet, you know, two up. And, I mean, I got one file cabinet full. The other file cabinet, I have one drawer about 3/4 full, so I got a ways to go to fill that up. And of course, they go periodically, and the postage is really cheap, and it's also actually cheaper to send it first class than media mail, so people get it very quickly and are satisfied. This is, for me personally, the bookstore book. This is, I know there have been a number of different books like this about New York City bookstores. And this is going to be interesting because, of course, a lot of these, I'd say the majority of these places are no longer in existence. So it'll be some interesting history. Okay. And one thing about New York City is that there are a lot of feminists and have historically been. So, of course, I find these feminist books from the mid-70s that people in other parts of the country really don't have a lot of access to. So it's nice to be able to put this out somewhere that someone who would otherwise maybe never find it is able to get a hold of a copy and see it for themselves. So this is a compilation, or rather an anthology, called Moving to Antarctica. Features Marge Piercy, Audre Lorde, Adrienne Rich. Those seem to be the big names. I mean, I'm not as familiar with the other authors in here, but I'm sure a lot of people are. So what we're going to do is, this does have an ISBN, so we're going to just type in the ISBN. And I think I was saying in the other video that ISBNs were first used across the board in the United States in about, it was actually 1968 was the year, according to a book that I had read, and that reflects what I've seen in books published in the U.S. during that era. Previous to that, ISBNs were used in Britain and actually originated in a particular store. It was one store that decided to use a numerical system to track their books, and it went from there and became a global numerical system for keeping track of book inventory. This appears to be, well, that's the hardcover edition, excuse me. Let's back that up. Why it's hardcover, and that's another thing that's funny with books sometimes. You'll type in the ISBN for the paperback edition, and then on Amazon, the hardcover edition comes up. So what we're going to do, it looks like there's one here that says unknown binding, which means that the person that created the listing was either too lazy or didn't know how to create the listing correctly. 163 pages. Dust Books is the publisher on this, so let's see if that's what's reflected here. Dust Books. Okay, so this is it. Now, the hardcover going for a penny, and yeah, I'll tell you, the thing with penny books is that whoever it is that's selling them, you can't make money that way unless you have some kind of system of drop shipping. Because, as I understand it, the absolute break-even point with Amazon is if you sell a book for $1.78. At $1.78, you know, plus the $3.99, say for domestic postage, and then Amazon subtracts whatever their cut is. If you go with $1.78, you will be left with exactly enough to cover the postage, and I assume that the person that figured that out was not figuring in the price of the book itself. Usually I pay $1. With tax, I believe it's $1.09 per book. And let's see, we're creating a listing for this. Okay, so the paperback is $19.82. So I'm going to leave that for now. We'll see how that price behaves later. I may lower it a bit, given that people can get the hardcover for a penny, or I may at some point give this to a friend. But for now, it's going over here on the footstool. Alright, so this is a book called 3 Days in That Autumn by Pak Wanseo. And it's a translation of a short novel from Korea. And I'll need to put on my glasses to see the ISBN on here. Yeah, this is in English, Roman alphabet, translated. Often if I see books that are in translation, depending upon the title, if it's a very common title, I won't bother. But if it's something uncommon that someone went to the trouble of translating, I'll assume that there's someone out there looking for it. You know, given the size and weight of this book, I can actually put this in the file drawer with the plays. It's a little small to go on the shelf. And it's going to go for just $5, which is fine. People deserve to have a book for $5 if they want. And this is a book titled La Sposa Liberata, and it's a book, I think, about the Jewish diaspora in Italy. I don't think it's a novel. I think it's, you know, for someone who's Italian, I can read Spanish more easily. It has 3 days that autumn. We'll finish this thing. But it's a nice it's a hardcover. It's in good shape. And it's new enough that it has an ISBN. I know there is not an Amazon.it, so it's going to be easier to list this than if it were a book in French or German, where there is an Amazon FR and an Amazon DE, and sometimes, especially with newer titles, they won't allow you to list it on the US Amazon if it's in those languages or published there. Also, sometimes I see with South Asian books published mostly in India, but other parts of South Asia, they will not allow those books. I've seen that also with Japanese books. I mean, it's another region, but also with Japanese books, they will not allow them to be listed in the US. The book is, I don't think it's an actual legal embargo, but it's been embargoed by the publisher. The publisher has requested that Amazon not allow anyone to sell it in a particular edition in the U.S. Okay, now this book, there is no listing for this on Amazon just now, so I'll have to create that on my own. I did try videoing myself creating a listing. It takes a little too long to translate into video form. Let me just make sure I got the number right. 8826. And in fact, I got the number wrong. So let's see. The 3 that I forgot. And in fact, there it is. All right. And there's little dirties on here. I'll have to get these off with the. I have these artist artist spatulas that have a little rounded end. And what I'll do is put some solvent on there. The solvent may not do anything, but it does provide the slightest bit of lubrication between the blade of the spatula and the surface of the cover while I scrape off whatever nasties are on there. And this is someone who is selling an acceptable edition of it. Acceptable means if it were any worse, you couldn't sell it at all on Amazon. And this book that I have, on the other hand, is very good. I'll go with very good. And the conditions on Amazon are different than the way traditionally that booksellers have designated conditions for books. Amazon has their own specific definitions for the different conditions of books that are different, because it's less of an antiquarian sort of trade chauvinist approach for them. They're more interested in getting a lot of books through and lawnmowers and whatever other crap. For example, one thing that I still use the same kind of latitude that a traditional bookseller would, with a condition called very good. Very good can mean, a copy that is not falling apart, that is going to go through at least 2 or 3 readings before falling apart on you. And usually I don't pick out books that are any worse than that anyway. In instances when I do, I usually try and repair them a bit, and I will often designate that those are also very good. I haven't really gotten complaints about condition of, and I can't read that. I haven't really gotten complaints about the condition of any of the books that I've sent out. Usually it's either I send the wrong book, I get books mixed up, and I send one to one, I mean very, very rarely, but one to one guy, one to the other guy, and each wanted the other book. This is Martin Heidegger, Letters to His Wife. It says, "Hello dear, I'm fucking Hannah Arendt." I mean, I don't know what is contained in these letters, and I'm not a big fan of Martin Heidegger, but my suspicion is someone out there is. Now, if the page would load a little quickly, I could see what I'm doing here. All right, looks like, yeah, like $15 and change. It's not bad. And this is a recent edition. This is maybe 2010 or so. Yeah, 2010. So this is going to go, I suspect this is going to go kind of quickly. And yeah, and it looks like most of the other sellers actually have lower ratings than I do. So it might go from me before it goes from some other dude or dude, woman, lady. Excuse me. So there you go. Letters Martin Heidegger sent to his wife. Fun, fun. Alright, so that's about everything except for those plays. Now, I could probably buzz through the plays in a couple of minutes, but what I'm going to do is maybe wait for tomorrow morning and do it then. Let me sign out of this video just now.